obviously the big thing that was rolling out of the last 24 hours is the Fauci emails. Oh my gosh. There's the Fauci emails, and the right wing has gone crazy on it. Rand Paul and his staff have been poring over them, trying to turn them into a something so that he could say something about the something and prove that he was, right about what he was wrong about and wrong about what he was right about, and therefore right all the time. It's hard to tell. Why are TED Talks destroying the world? TED Talks are destroying the world because I'm sure you're aware of a little learning is a dangerous thing. And that's what TED Talks effectively are. Most of the time, they're chit-chat science, which is fine. But unfortunately, a lot of them are based on single studies. So instead of doing the peer-reviewed thing, a lot of people from a group will do a study and before peer reviewing it or without peer reviewing it will come out and go, we found in our study that this happened and therefore this is actually true. And it's not. And so they haven't reproduced it or any of those things. They basically go on a PR tour of their scientific, I wouldn't call them theories at that point, allegations. And so that's been a concern for a long time. Also, people who think they know it all really irritate those of us that do. So it's a mix. I could do a whole, the internet is blasting out because apparently they're unaware of something. And there's a little detail that one would think that they would be aware of. And I'll show you in a minute. Let me jump right in. Let's just hear, obviously, if there's an expert on this. You could talk to me all afternoon about it, and we obviously have our opinions about it, but we're not experts. What do we know about, the sort of expertise you would need to, thank God, we have Don Jr., who's got a bombshell about the Fauci emails, and it's going to prove that everything was right. By the way, same blanket, same spot. We're all guilty of that, but why are the bookshelves empty? Is he back in this Airbnb? It's really weird. Does he have to, I'm beginning to think, and I mean this sincerely, and this is largely from the fact that Don Jr.'s been doing cameos to pay for his booger sugar, in theory, allegedly, by Neil. But it seems like he's bouncing between like 4 resident properties that they have, like he's the handyman, or it's his job to, he's basically running 5 Airbnbs. And so they bounce around, all these different places. And you know what I mean? Because there was that place where he was in the dining room, and then we've seen this place a couple of times. And then there's the office in New York. These obviously are unrelated properties. I'm curious as to where the hell he is. And he seems like he's there more to do, it doesn't seem like a living space. Hype Train Level 2 happening right now. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me on the stream every day. And don't forget patreon.com/HalSparks. Great way to show your love and support for the show. And of course, there's lovely people helping. And then there's a Venmo. There you go. I'm so trying to learn. I'm so trying to do this like a pro. All right. And so let's look at what this kid is saying about science-y stuff right now. Of all the people why is he renting? Apparently because it's a better market for renters right now. Yeah.
Guys, the Fauci email.
Guys. So hold on one second. I have to turn off my exterior speakers. Guys, the Fauci. Now, remember, when it comes to Don Jr., exuberance means ignorance. So here we go.
Emails are out, and I want to know, what did he know and when did he know it?
Well, it's interesting. You want to know those things? Do you really want to know those things? Don Jr., do you really want to know those things? Because I know those things because I went and got them. There's 3,234 of them in this document. You can look them up yourself. You can read through all of them. I mean, if you want to know, there they are. Look at that. Hey, see that? I wanted to know. Don. Hi, Don. You have a little. Don, I wanted to know what were in the Fauci emails. So I went and I got the Fauci emails. And so I know what he knew and when he knew it. And I also knew when he was aware that they didn't know things yet. And then in some cases he was erring on the side of caution. And then other times he was taking an extremely resolute position on being as careful as possible because of the rising death toll in other countries, namely Italy and China, that they were starting to see. And so between those things, and remember, time, I know a lot of people don't believe this, but time matters. So when you look at emails that were on, let's say, February 4th, 2020, especially ones that have a typo in them, where he writes asymptomatic when he means symptomatic because he's writing it back and forth, and that was and people are highlighting and going back and forth, you know, those kind of things happening. Am I? They're easy to find. I mean, if you want to know, here they go. Oh, he wants to know. There they are. Yeah. It's not, I mean, dude, I wish it was difficult. I wish it was hard.
Because it seems like so much of what we've been sold for the last 16, 17 months is nonsense.
No, it doesn't. And by the way, in the seems part, it might be because you're hearing secondhand from people like Rand Paul and people that you already agree with that haven't gone through said emails like I have. It's not hard. It's pretty lovely. Dude, it's a lot of emails, 3,000 of them. I obviously couldn't go through all of them. Some of them are just, travel documents and responses. There's a lot of redacted emails in there, which I thought was very nice of them. Yeah. These kind of, yeah. Preprints can fill a void in times of rapidly changing and reviewed materials. This is to get people sending him. Quick retraction of a faulty coronavirus paper was a good moment for science. Somebody sent him that. Heather, as per our recent conversation, this is your story. See below, best Tony. He's referring to something that there's like, and by the way, it's a little. If I could pick one email at random out of the 3,234 that shows that he was having the right conversation about stuff. The fact that he would email this and be in conversation about quick retraction of faulty coronavirus paper was a good moment for science, where they had it wrong and then they got it right. As fears of the novel coronavirus 2019 nCoV continued to spread last Friday, an inflammatory new paper appeared on bioRxiv, a preprint server, where scientists post work that hasn't been vetted. Weird. Titled Uncanny Similarity of Unique Inserts in the 2019 CoV Spike Protein to HIV-1, GO120, and GAG. The paper claimed to find similarities between the new coronavirus and HIV, the virus that caused AIDS. The use of the word uncanny in the title, together with unlikely to be fortuitous in the abstract, led some to think that the authors were suggesting the virus had somehow been engineered by humans. The paper from academic institutions in New Delhi, India, was critical and alarming, if true, except that it wasn't. The paper was almost immediately withdrawn, but not before plenty of hand-wringing from researchers who complained that the appearance of such shoddy work on a preprint server without vetting, which is what the preprint servers are for, but the problem is that it bounces around the news, without vetting by peer reviews, is precisely why the hoary old model of science publishing is better at keeping junk science out of the literature. Yeah. So, anyways, that but I'm sure we'll find something. I'm sure he's going to reference one. I don't know which of these emails he will reference. A lot of Q&A stuff that Fauci's doing in these. Let's see. Whoops. We'll close that 1 second. And let's continue. So, if the knowledge is there, if you want it, if you actually want it, I don't believe you actually do. Yeah.
From an incompetent bureaucrat that seemingly heard from a lot of people much, much smarter than him. Again, not government bureaucrats, people actually doing it in the real world. And I know a little bit about government
Do you? Well, you certainly don't know anything about doing it in the real world.
Bureaucrats. I've seen it for the last few years. The best of the best don't go into it, typically. Okay? They don't.
The best of the best don't go into what? Politics? Oh, that's why your dad ran. Of course.
But Fauci is a man to me that seems like the only thing he's actually good at is getting in front of a camera and then delivering on whatever narrative those people want. So,
okay, so read off your cue card. Now we'll go with what your pre-written statement is as you try to build your Rumble career.
Would firing him go far enough? I don't think so.
I don't think so. These are the things the Heritage Foundation and Kevin McCarthy sent me at in an email this morning, but this is totally off the cuff and natural, guys.
So, he needs to be tried. He needs to be put in front of a commission. They want to do commissions on everything else.
No, they don't. They just want to do one on January 6th, which if it was really Antifa and BLM that attacked the Capitol, I don't know what's the hang up, bruh.
We seem to follow this guy blindly because we all thought he knew what he was actually talking about. Turns out
he does.
It doesn't seem like he did at all.
Okay, let's see. You mean in dealing with a novel coronavirus as it unfolded?
Does anyone with a functioning brain actually believe the debunked Wuhan lab theory? It's impossible that it leaked from the lab in the same town. Well, guess what? It turns out...
Oh, that was our first edit. What happened? Don, I know you're not doing a cut. I know you're not doing any extra work on these things. Who cut that?
Brain actually believe the debunked Wuhan lab theory. It's impossible that it leaked from the lab in the same town. Well, guess what? It turns out...
What is that? We've been watching these. We've seen a bunch of these rumbles. There's an edit in it already? What did they cut out? In the same town that what? Did he say something factually that was a lie and therefore the people who were running his rumble for him had to cut it out? That's weird.
Turns out really smart scientists seem to be emailing him, hey, there's something here. This could have been manufactured, or it could have slipped, or hydroxychloroquine could be really effective against it. But you know what? That would be obvious.
It would be obvious. It would be extremely obvious. Like, of all the odd things, this is the most obvious thing that you could possibly... Okay. In the beginning, when they were trying things and people were floating ideas and it turned out not to work, this is science in the making. None of us have a problem understanding this except for Don Jr. But I'm sure he's going to put up one of the emails and on screen, and you and I will be able to look at what was said in full context, and he's not just going to yammer about it.
So many of those...
Because I don't know where he would get those emails, but...
Things would be obvious, again, to someone with a functioning brain, but what they wouldn't be is they wouldn't be helpful to Donald Trump because he seemed to question these same things, and therefore, we can't go with the narrative that would help Donald Trump. Even if...
the narrative that would help Donald Trump is it was a serious disease and it ultimately killed 600,000 Americans.
It's literally common freaking sense.
Okay, great. Then bring in Rudy.
So we're gonna...
Does John Jr. have fake teeth? Yeah, he and his dad are 100% caps. Everything. And apparently his dad gets his teeth changed rather than brush them or something like that. Like he literally takes He goes to the dentist, they knock him out, and they just replace him every year.
We're going to get rid of all of that. And you see the media already spinning it. CNN, thousands of emails from and to Dr. Fauci reveal the weight that came on his shoulders. The weight.
Right.
Well, to me, it seems.
Yeah, the weight. Yeah, a lot of people could have died, more so. And it took a whole 2 weeks to convince Trump to shut the country down, the 15 days to stop the spread and all that shit. And without that, it would have spiked even worse as it was rolling through.
It seems like he disregarded people that were coming up with the obvious theories.
Yeah, the obvious theories. They were the oddest, obvious. He does realize obvious. Ob is spelled with a B, right? He does know that as a grown man. Obvious, not obvious. He does know that, right?
Things that make a lot of sense, like maybe masks aren't that effective, but maybe if we take people with comorbidities and put them and isolate them and have
60% of Americans are overweight or obese. Yeah, here's a great idea from Don Jr. Let's pen up in put them together, isolate, like let's open up like what, hockey stadiums, just put everybody inside.
Have them self-quarantine, maybe we'd be better off, and maybe there wouldn't be a need to actually isolate and shut down.
Yeah, because nobody without a comorbidity comes and goes regularly from a home of people with comorbidities. And if the rest of the world is practicing the Donald Trump model of, fuck it, who cares? It's not really my job anyways, and brings it home, then the deaths skyrocket. Is that what we're shooting for? Isn't it? I mean, ultimately, we're talking about a Darwinist cult, a herd cult. But
the rest of the country. How many lives did this bureaucrat cost? I'd like to know.
None.
How many businesses did he destroy haphazardly?
Well, he didn't do them haphazardly. They made it uniform across the country, and Congress and the president's job was to make up for that deficit with PPP loans, and unemployment, and making sure that restaurants especially had an option to pay their mortgage, pay their bills, pay their employees, keep them on retainer, get a forgivable PPP loan entirely if they kept their staff through the pandemic. I mean, thank you, Susan.
Pushing pseudoscience.
Pseudoscience. All right. What's the pseudoscience? Did hydroxychloroquine actually work out in the end? No, it didn't. How about bleach down your throat and a light bulb up your ass? Did anybody float that idea?
I'd like to know.
Well, then read the emails. What are you bitching at us for?
How many
lines of cocaine do you have to do before the inside of your nasal passage coats and leathers up and becomes so narrow that you sound like you were snorting helium right before every video?
Bankruptcies of families and small businesses could have been avoided if this guy wasn't looked upon as a deity, and in fact people used their brain.
Are you reading the part right now? Is it on the little piece of paper right there? Right there? Is it right there? It's right there, isn't it? Is it are there note cards, or did they print something out? Because they should give you bigger text so you don't have to. Goddamn, do I have to? The alleged millionaire, alleged son of a billionaire, can't afford a $119 Amazon teleprompter with for his notes on his phone to be right there. I don't have one. See, you can tell because I can move my hand that close to the screen. I would hit it, right? Because I'm capable of extemporaneous speech, and I do my research, so I can call stuff up immediately. But I don't have to go, guys, the Heritage Foundation guys sent me a guys,
and question it. I mean, why is someone
why is there a question on my cue card right here
with ties to the Wuhan lab literally personally thanking Fauci for
because there are scientists there because it wasn't the entirety of the Wuhan lab wasn't under some sort of Chinese government conspiracy to create a bioweapon and release it on the United States. And again, if they were, hi YouTube, hi everybody, this is an if-then argument. I am not, by the way, follow CDC guidelines, wear a mask if you haven't been vaccinated, be careful, and you'll be fine. And I recommend getting vaccinated. I get the Pfizer. If you're over 65, they're saying now that you might need a booster at the end of the year for the Delta variant that's in India mainly. So just a heads up about that. That's a possibility. They don't know fully yet, but it's a possibility. See, we do real science here. God damn it. I totally lost why I gave a shit. What were you saying again?
For dispelling myths that don't seem like they're actually myths.
Dispelling myths? Hold on. I'm backing up to this nonsense. Hold on.
Science. I'd like to know how many bankruptcies of families and small businesses could have been avoided if this guy wasn't looked upon as a deity.
Oh, okay, the deity thing. Yeah, no, he's looking at it as a scientist dealing with incoming information, some true, some not, and they're trying to vet it best, but operating on a line of, here's our best practices, here's our possible best practices, and here's the potential based on what we know so far. And over the timeline, it got increasingly grim as they saw how contagious this was, as this asshole's father even admitted to Bob Woodward. You know how many bankruptcies would have happened if we'd have had 2.5 million deaths, which is what it would have taken to reach herd immunity without a vaccine or without social distancing and without masks during that period of time? How many? I mean, it's probably just the kids. So do you really go out of business just because your oldest son died? Or if, the matriarch or the patriarch of the family who, helps occasionally loan money to keep the, middle class afloat as their kids come through college and start their own businesses, as they get into their 30s and 40s, and maybe they got a weight problem, maybe they got a genetic heart issue, or maybe they've got an autoimmune disorder. Who cares if that person dies? You know what I mean? It wouldn't mean bankruptcy for those people. It would be a fire sale. Yeah. Speaking of fire sale, how are Trump condos doing right now? We'll get to that in a bit.
And in fact, people use their brain and question it. I mean, why is someone with ties to the
Wuhan? Why is the Wuhan virus? That's what I remember. Okay, so why is somebody with ties to the Wuhan virus? Because everybody working at the Wuhan lab was not engaged in a bioweapon creation to attack the United States. And again, that's where I got distracted with the whole if-then argument, YouTube. If that's true, if we are supposed to have nothing to do with anybody who was involved in the Wuhan laboratory, and that they were actively creating a bioweapon to destroy the United States, which is what he seems like he's starting to allege right here, and what they've all played footsie with multiple times. Understand, his father was president during the worst bioweapon attack in the history of the world. 600,000 dead Americans. If the Wuhan lab is, they sent it out, it was created on purpose. It was released on purpose, right? Well, Trump was president when it was released on purpose, and it spread throughout the country. And what did he do? He ignored it until he could finish signing his trade deal, a trade deal they only met a third of their obligation for. And then in the middle of July, he sold them the largest order of beef, corn, and soybeans in American history, while Americans who were suffering through this pandemic were on food lines. Americans could have had massive steak dinners every night. They could have had Trump steaks, but no, he had to sell all of it to China. Like the 17 million, how many was it, 17 million tons at this point? That's an enormous number. I'm talking out of my ass. Hold on. Trump, how much, let's see, Trump sent PPE to China. That'll work. Oh, I beg your pardon. It was just 18 tons. So, apparently, on February 7th, the WHO warned that the limited stock of PPE. That same day, the Trump administration announced it was sending 18 tons of masks, gowns, and respirators to China. February 7th. February 7th. Sent that to China. Yes, the U.S. ship donated personal protective equipment to China in February. This is what his dad did. This is what your dad did. Common sense, man. Common sense. It's a common sense thing, you know? Guys, it's guys. The
Wuhan lab literally personally thanking Fauci.
Yeah. There were scientists there who were trying to fight disease. Even if it was a mistake, not everybody there wanted that mistake to be made, and they were in the process of fighting it in their own country themselves. And if there were those there that did it on purpose, again, yeah, it's a huge reach. But let's go there with him right now. That somebody at the Wuhan lab thanked Dr. Fauci and therefore, like, he's complicit in this attack. Meanwhile, Trump was president, biggest bioweapon attack in America.
For dispelling myths that don't seem like they're actually myths.
Okay, first of all, it's myths. 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 And it's obvious and myths. Why does he have such a... Mists? Mists? Really?
For dispelling myths that don't seem like they're actually myths. And they shouldn't
Myths.
be. They should have been things that were looked into. And again, so the fact checkers don't throw...
By the way, you do realize that that Fauci's role is as sort of a shield, not a sword. And so his job is to start, I've used this analogy on Twitter a couple of times, and it's one that these guys seem to not be able to grasp. If you happen upon someone, and they have been shot, and it's clearly a bullet wound, and they are clearly on death's door. They are in real danger. And it looks, at first, you can't even see that they're wounded. And secondly, you lift them up, you're like, they're not moving very much, and their breathing is shallow, and their pulse is thready. And you lift them up, and you realize, oh my God, there's blood coming out the back, and there's a little hole in their shirt. That's a through and through. The bullet went out the back of them. They were shot, fell down, and this person is bleeding out. I need to get them, medical attention. I need to get them to get this bleeding stopped. I need to get them into an ambulance or to a hospital as quick as possible. What Trump and Junior here and a bunch of these folks in the Glenn Becks of the world and all this are suggesting is that you happen upon a person who has been shot, who is on death's door and is in danger of losing their lives. And your response is, well, we can't save anybody, but let's go shoot into the trees and see if we can hit whoever shot at them. Let's go look for the killer before we save the life. No one does that, especially a doctor.
Throw me off a platform for questioning their God, even though, again, I think he's nothing more than an incompetent who loves a camera like no one has ever loved a camera before.
Well, I mean, are we really going to get into a get me in front of a camera thing with your dad? I mean, obviously your dad's phoning in all of his interviews and is fearing cameras at every turn. He hates his own reflection and sees loser every time he looks in a mirror, so he doesn't like to be filmed right now. But certainly your dad, especially at your age, was, like he would show up at the opening of an envelope to get it on camera. He would show up at charities he didn't even give money to and make them sit him on stage.
Before, this guy isn't a deity. This guy...
No one thinks he's a deity. He's a doctor working for the CDC and the NIH and trying to coordinate our response. I don't... Again, this goes to the whole, this whole crowd, including especially the Trumps, thought that we all worshipped Obama as a deity, right? He was a god, man. Like that was the story they told again and again. And then what happens when Trump gets in office? His own followers treat him like a deity. The Q cult builds around him.
This guy is barely competent, in my opinion, and I have...
What's your opinion based on? It's not based on reading the emails. Let me guess, your opinion is on the phone call you had with your dad about emails he didn't read either?
I have to keep saying that again so I don't get...
Well, yeah, it's on the list. It's on. You have to keep saying it because it's on the piece of paper you're referencing.
fact checked, but Fauci never knew what was actually going on.
Never?
It seems like he ran cover from China from day one and did...
Ran cover from China from day one. Let's see. Trump says China... Let's see. She transparency. 15 times Trump praised China as coronavirus was spreading across the globe. January 22nd. One of the many great things about our just signed giant trade deal, $30 billion in the first year, they only met about 13, a little under 13 billion. With China is that it will bring both USA and China closer together in so many other ways. Terrific working with President Xi, a man who truly loves his country. Much more to come. China's been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency. It'll all work out well. In particular, on behalf of the American people, I want to thank President Xi. January 24th. January 29th marks its signing ceremony for the USMCA. And honestly, I think as tough as this negotiation was, I think our relationship with China now might be the best it's been in a long, long time. And now it's reciprocal. Before we were ripped off badly. Now we have a reciprocal relationship, maybe even better than reciprocal for us. China is not in great shape right now, January 3rd, right now, unfortunately. But they're working very hard. We'll see what happens. We're working very closely with China and other countries. February 7th. I just spoke to President Xi last night, and you know, we're working on the problem, the virus. It's a very tough situation, but I think he's going to handle it. I think he handled it really well. We're helping wherever we can. February 7th. Just had a long and very good conversation by phone with President Xi of China. He's a strong, sharp, and powerfully focused on leading the counterattack. He is strong, sharp, and powerfully focused on leading the counterattack on the coronavirus. He feels they're doing very well, even building hospitals in a matter of only days. You got to check my videos about that. Great discipline is taking place in China as President Xi strongly leads what will be a very successful operation. We are working closely with China to help. Late last night, I had a very good talk with President Xi, and we talked mostly about the coronavirus. They're working really hard. I think they're doing a very professional job. They're in touch with the world organization, CDC also. We're working together. But World Health is working with them. CDC is working with them. I had a great conversation last night with President Xi. It's a tough situation. I think they're doing a good job. The 10th. I think China is very, professionally run in the sense that they're going to have everything under control. I really believe they're going to have it under control fairly soon. April, it supposedly dies with the hotter weather, and that's a beautiful date to look forward to. But China, I can tell you, is working very hard. I spoke with President Xi. They're working very, very hard, and I think it's all going to work out fine. I think they've handled it professionally. I think it's extremely capable. They're extremely capable, and I think President Xi is extremely capable, and I hope that it's going to be resolved. By the way, there is nothing on that level of bloviating horseshit in the Fauci emails. Guaranteed.
Did whatever he could to try to contradict Trump. And
did he? He did everything he could to try and contradict Trump. I think President Xi is working very hard. As you know, I spoke with him recently. He's working really hard. It's a tough problem. I think he's going to do. Look, I've seen them build hospitals in a short period of time. I really believe he wants to get that done. He wants to get it done fast. Yes, I think he's doing it very professionally. I think Xi was working very, very hard. I spoke to him. He's working very hard. I think he's doing a very good job. It's a big problem, but President Xi loves his country. He's working very hard to solve the problem, and he'll solve the problem. Okay, and he will solve the problem. Okay, he'll solve it. I don't have to do anything. I'm on my way to a rally. Come on. You what now? Yeah, what now? You guys.
And is he going to be held accountable? I doubt it. But if you're a Republican and you're sitting there and with them wanting to investigate literally anything that happened.
No, they're not. They don't want to investigate anything that happened. They have no interest in the Proud Boys gatherings that happened in the street the day before. They don't give a shit about what happened on the mall. They don't give a crap about the rally itself. They don't give a crap about any of the marches that happened leading up to it. No, there is no Portland Proud Boys v. Andy No commission going on anywhere. None of that. They're not looking into everything. One of the Bundys is fucking running for office. They want to look into specifically what happened on January 6th, where, you know, one cop died as a result and 2 committed suicide. Another was tased until he had a heart attack. Another one had his ribs crushed. Another one lost his eye. But back to blue, right, Don? Right, Don?
Happened under Trump. If you don't want an investigation in here, you don't deserve to represent the American people anymore.
Well, you know what? Don, I finally agree with you. Dude, if you don't want to do an investigation, you don't deserve to represent the American people. Well, I would say get off your lazy, entitled, third-generation slumlord rich boy ass and go investigate the emails. 3,000 pages of them. Hey, man, I read the ACA. That was about 3,000 pages. Took me a little over a weekend. A lot of these, you only have to read the Fauci part and then see if anything in it stands out. You don't have to, you know, it's got his travel and stuff. You can skip over those, right? It's probably 1,000 pages of stuff that might really pique your interest. You'll be wrong about all of it, of course. And it'll be obvious to anyone when you speak of it, even though you read it, but you haven't. So I would say that on your word, if you can't be bothered to do an investigation about Dr. Fauci's emails, then why the fuck is anybody listening to you? There is no way this asshole even glanced at these things.
More. I hope the Republicans grow a pair and actually try to push back on this nonsense. Again, you see the left already pushing this. You see the
yeah. Read the CNN line again. Read the basically you're just whatever you wrote down during Ben Shapiro's piece on it that you wanted to just kind of crib and release your own version of that because you're like, he's got a nice house and I live in my dad's Airbnb.
The Washington Post changing headlines from like 15 months ago, where it was pretty clear that they were pushing a narrative or they would destroy anyone who questioned the narrative.
What narrative? What narrative? Does anybody, by the way, has anyone seen a narrative anywhere? And please let me know in the chat room, in the comments below, in the video if you're watching this later at any time. If you find a major news outlet that questioned that the disease itself came from the Hubei province and Wuhan specifically. The only narrative that I've seen questioned is and that was pushed back against online was this assertion that it was man-made on purpose. And quite frankly, the right has more to lose if that's true than the left does. Because if that turned out to be true, if that narrative reached out, if the Chinese, created this on purpose, the government did it and attacked us, what does Trump's response last year look like through the lens of a bioweapon attack?
Anyone who used common sense, and it turns out that common sense seems to be correct. And I hate
what is the common sense? What common sense? What are you talking about? We all know it came from that area. No one's questioning that. Everyone watched as it broke out in China in that area. No one is questioning that it came from the area around Wuhan. The question was, did it leak from a lab? Was it naturally occurring? Or was it created and it leaked? Was it natural and it leaked? Or was it created on purpose and released on purpose? These are the four possibilities in regard to the Wuhan lab narrative anyways. And at what point, which part are we supposedly, I don't know from what he's talking about, which one we're supposedly debating. And again, if the worst possibility is true, that is the worst possible legacy for Donald John Trump.
I hate to have to cage it this way, guys, but I'm going to try to do whatever I can to not be thrown off the platforms because we need voices combating this.
What platform? Rumble? Again, what are you going to get censored and moved? Everybody, the right wing is a rumble bump. It's only filled with you, Bongino, and Rudy Giuliani. The next step down is Telegram. The fuck?
But
what are you reading? Why are you reading this? Why does this? I mean, you're not reading the emails. I know that for goddamn sure.
It seems the grandparent killers. Those who wanted to kill their grandparents because they didn't want to be locked down. Man.
Edit. Another edit. Get down.
Be thrown off the platforms because we need voices combating this. But
yeah, get back to the point you had on the paper and then back up and they'll do another cut.
It seems the grandparent killers. Those who wanted to kill their grandparents because they didn't want to be locked down. Man. All those grandparent killers seem to be proven right, at least by some people in these emails.
All those grandparent killers? Oh, sorry. What's in the email that says...
Really competent doctors who had direct communications with Fauci and were showing him what they thought.
What they thought. When? In February? When we didn't know shit? As it steamrolled? As it started to grow?
Seems to respond to some of them in that way. Well, you know, a mask is really only effective in preventing the spread in one of the...
Oh, I see. You're only going with the emails they posted put on Tucker or Hannity last night. I see.
Emails? I mean, again, I'm just reading this stuff, and this is what it appears...
You're not reading this stuff. You're reading the clipped parts that other people put online, because not only are you a second generation rich kid, grandchild of a slumlord who wouldn't rent to black people, but you also, everyone else does all your other work. Because there's no way this asshole sat on his phone after the fact and went, okay, I got to cut that piece off. I didn't like that piece. I'll do the edit. Don't worry, I'll do it in iMovie.
Appears to be from me. So I don't get thrown off the platforms.
What platform?
I'm going to keep saying that, but if you...
What platform?
have a brain, what conclusion do you come through?
Yeah,
right? We went through...
What conclusion do you come through in your... Jesus. Do you not know how any human phrases work? You backed up and fixed some sort of edit. What conclusions do you come through?
Shit. Through a White House briefing today, okay, for an hour. Not a single question. It's not like they blew it off and people were asking. Not a single question on the Fauci emails.
Yeah, because they're still reading them. The questions will be based on whether or not he knew what he needed to know and if he got more information over time. Now, one thing is abundantly clear. All of these reporters who might ask a question are dealing with the reality of COVID as we get out of it and businesses start again. And, you know, obviously the job numbers look really shitty for your dad right now because they're, you know, unemployment went down an unexpected amount. But the journalists who look into all this stuff, they're all going to look at this and actually review it, and then base their questions on other information, going, okay, this was February 4th. Was anything he said contradictory to the truth, or was it based on the knowledge they had at the time? And did that shifting knowledge change the standard of what they had to worry about over time? And if it's out of sync, like let's say if Fauci had said to a reporter on a recorded conversation that it's way worse and more deadly than the flu and a lot more contagious, and then went on one of these, like publicity stunt level task force briefings and said it's going to be over by April. Like, that would be something someone would want to ask about.
Not one. Okay? Remember, during the Trump administration, Fauci fought Project Warp Speed and Operation Warp Speed.
Oh, damn it. Hold on.
Captain's log.
There we go. All right. Sorry. He did it twice, too. Back up. Hold on. That's my bad.
It's not like they blew it off and people were asking not a single question on the Fauci emails. Not one. Okay? Remember, during the Trump administration, Fauci fought Project Warp Speed and Operation Warp Speed. He did whatever he can to get in the way, and now he's going to try to take credit for it, like he had something to do with it. Again.
So he fought it? How did he fight that part of it? Guys, where's Popcat? Yeah. Thank you very much. What? All right. I don't know what he means. It's difficult to deal with what the fuck he's talking about because I don't know. I can't tell. Because in no way did Dr. Fauci fight Operation Warp Speed. He doubted some of the speed and the efficacy based on what they knew at the time and what would be available and whether or not that would work. And by the way, the timing of it, they were talking at this time that we would have the 70% inoculation and herd immunity by the end of last year. And there was no way that was going to happen. It was going to take at least a year and a half if everything worked perfectly. Guess what? 4th of July is coming up, kids. What's the Biden date for getting everybody inoculated? And who isn't getting inoculated? Who is fighting Warp Speed, Operation Warp Speed, more than right-wingers and Trumpers? Who? I got the vaccine. So did Biden. So does Trump. So did he. But who's not getting it? Maggots, that's who.
Again, bureaucrats don't get things done.
Well, sure they do. I mean, you drove on a road that bureaucrats helped make happen and arranged for and made sure that they keep getting redone on a schedule. It's why there's no lead in the pipes in your house right now that I know of, although judging from your thought process, your morals, and your ability to put a thought, to functionally use logic in any meaningful way, there may be lead in that whole place may be made out of lead for all I know.
Bureaucrats tend to fail because... Do they?
Well, then why do we have a bureaucracy, and why is America the greatest country in the world? For those of you that don't know, I'm a big fan of triplicate. You know what I mean? When you have to get something signed in triplicate, big fan of that. You know what I mean? I get a copy, you get a copy, they keep a copy. That's a great idea. Now, we didn't always have triplicate. They used to have one version. Okay, I signed it. You signed it? Great, cool. Bye. Guy on a horseback rides off. What happened to that treaty? What treaty? The guy, he was riding his horse and they shot him with an arrow with fire in it and he died. And treaty burned up. All right, next time we want 2 copies. Okay. Well, all right, you sign a copy and I'll sign a copy and they match, right? Yes, they do. Everybody sees these match? Great, cool. All right, and then he rides off and then he gets shot with an arrow and it burns up. And then I've got the only copy and they're like, that's not what the other one said. That's not what the treaty said. There's a treaty, this treaty and that treaty were different. You changed something. All right, goddammit. I'll sign a copy, you sign a copy, and we'll both sign a copy, and they keep it in this box. And so anybody loses their copy, the other copy has to match the one in there. That's bureaucracy. That didn't happen organically. That evolved as a necessity because humans use common sense, guys. Common sense says we shake on it. It's a deal. Common sense.
They're only bureaucrats because they weren't good enough to succeed elsewhere.
Well, that's like saying, cops are only cops because they couldn't be soldiers, and soldiers are only soldiers because they're not good enough to be doctors. That's just dickish and lazy.
Okay, that's what I've come to believe, and that's what I've come.
Well, yes, James, you're absolutely right, but that's the statistical majority. He says, no, not just maggots, unfortunately. You're absolutely right. But statistically, that's the bigger group. Thank you, Paul.
To know.
Thanks for the super chats, guys. Don't forget to hit the super chat if you can, if you haven't done it in a long time. A lot of our regulars do the super chats, and sometimes, other people that maybe could, don't, whatever. So give it a try if you like it. If you don't, you can always subscribe using Amazon Prime. Like and subscribe, thumbs up, and all that stuff.
It seems that
What are you reading? Dude, you're reading again. And I have very little faith in your reading comprehension.
Dr. Fauci received the best advice he could have possibly been given in March 14th of 2020.
March 14th. Okay, let's look. Hold on one second. So this is, I've got a February. Okay. March. When's the date? That's April. Hold on. Got to roll back on this one. There's a lot of these things, kids. February 6th. These are February 20th, February, there you go. The best evidence that could possibly be sent. Hold on. February 11th. All right, we'll see which one he's referencing. Hold on. I'm scrolling through the emails.
Which seems like from a UPenn where I graduated, researcher.
Okay, so this is UPenn researcher, Saturday, March 14th, 2020. Okay. Shit, these aren't going to be searchable in that, right? Okay. So, I'm looking for that actual one. Oh, almost there. Got it. Hold on. Could be. March 15th, backing up. March 15th. He gets a lot of emails. 15th. I'm looking for it. Hold on. There's Saturday. He's working on a Saturday. It's good of him. Okay. Saturday. All right. Looking back at this one. Okay. From AS. Okay. Thank you for your note. Okay. So he says, thank you for your note. Okay, here it is. Yep, found it. Got it. Here's the whole thing. So we'll see what Don centers on, and then we'll check against it.
Researcher Michael Betts. He replied, "Thanks for the note," and proceeded to ignore every little bit of the note.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so sorry. Thank you for your note, dear Dr. Fudge. This is. Oh, okay, so this is an auto reply. It says, thank you for your note on a couple of these. That's his way of... I have to scroll back through. Man, he gets a lot of emails. Let's see which... Yeah, he's not showing the whole page on there. Hold on. Redacted page, or it's an image. Let's see. Just so you know, thank you for your note is one of Fauci's most common ways of replying, it seems. Thank you for your note, A.S. Fauci. Let's see. These are just people congratulating him and saying thank you. Let's see. Saturday morning. Okay. Patricia Conrad, thank you. Okay, Bethesda, Maryland. Okay, I wanted to convey an idea. That's the top of that one. Okay, so that's Friday, March 13th. Convey an idea. Oh, look at this. That's a... These are, I mean, there's a ton of these. Yeah, so the auto response for these is thank you for your note. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is the one he's talking about. I want to convey an idea that I had regard to the coronavirus. This is an idea this guy had, or this person had, March 14th, whoever this is. We'll get to it. It seems to me that trying to contain the virus as we are doing at present will be futile, since the virus can be present for many days without a person having any symptoms. You would literally need to test everyone at the same time to determine who has it, an impossible task. I have a different thought. We know that this virus is especially dangerous to the older immunosuppressed. In my opinion, we should be focusing all of our efforts on keeping that group from becoming infected. To do so, that group should be encouraged to self-isolate, to limit their social interactions. Other groups should be instructed to avoid them. This sort of a reverse quarantine idea. All testing would be done within those groups, and all groups would also be encouraged to continue with hygienic suggestions we've already received. The problem right now is that the media has created a panic. Last night, my wife and I went to local Whole Foods, and many of the shelves were empty, and healthy younger people were wearing masks. The message is not getting out that the virus is almost solely dangerous to the elderly and immunosuppressed. Why aren't the demographics being released? That in itself could calm many people. With my suggestion, exposures to them would be diminished, significantly reducing the number of deaths as well as the potential impact on hospitals. Any person outside of that group would be severely affected, could be identified and treated. Quarantining otherwise healthy people outside of those groups would finally demonstrate symptoms like NBA players is ridiculous. They're likely to get the sniffles and also have already spread the virus. As long as they're not spreading it to the endangered group, we should not worry about it. Well, the problem is the asymptomatic spread, and how do we know? In sum, we need to isolate the vulnerable and realize that mortality rate for people outside that group is likely lower than the flu. It wasn't, by the way. It didn't turn out to be true. In sum, we need to isolate vulnerable and realize that the mortality rate for people outside the group is likely lower than the flu. That right there, that little chunk right here, in sum, his summation, this person, Michael Betts, his summation, turned out not to be the case. The mortality rate was not lower than the flu. The flu was giving us 70,000 max, around 30,000 regularly. We've lost 600,000. A lot of them frontline workers because they were exposed to large doses of it. So if they go, just send them to the hospital. Those people get treated. Meanwhile, we lost tons of nurses and doctors and first responders because of it. Of course, while this occurs, we're working on finding treatments and vaccines. But sending home workers who have next to no likelihood of being significantly impacted by this virus is ridiculous. The virus hits hardest the old and infirm, two groups that are most likely not to even be in the workforce. To me, this solution is a lot simpler than what is being tried right now and is much more likely of success. To everyone besides the endangered group, this virus is literally less dangerous than the flu. It is not. There is no reason that anyone outside of the endangered group should have any concern at all, and we need to make that clear. Please let me know what you think. What he thought was, thank you for your note. I don't know where the UPenn part of this comes from. Like where he's saying this guy came from there. I don't know what the reference is. Yeah, again, in sum, that turned out to be horseshit. We lost 600,000 people.
Note.
Even with full social distancing. We had 14 cases. And with months of social distancing, completely shutting the fucking country down at every possible turn, with some of the most draconian steps we've ever taken, we lost 600,000 Americans. Can you imagine if you just let it roll? If we had, for example, 10 times the number of interactions that people were having last year, just by going to the store more often, just by not wearing masks, just by not cleaning our hands and cleaning surfaces as regularly. This is why. And by the way, common sense, guys, common sense would dictate. Common sense would get everyone killed. Common sense used to be that the ethers contained goblins that would attack us through our nasal passages.
From that researcher. It seems like he...
What researcher, by the way? I don't know. Maybe you know this dude? But from what I'm reading, and we'll see. Okay, let's look. Did he do this? Is this because this guy is friends with some right-wingers? Mike Betts. Let's look up Mike Betts. He's a chef. Different one. Mike Betts, immunologist. Okay, so that's the Michael R. Betts. That's this dude, supposedly. human immune response to viral immunology, HIV, immunopathogenesis, vaccine-induced immune responses, keywords HIV, T-cell immune response. So this is a dude that there might have been some interaction with, people there, but I don't know for sure that Mike Betts is this Mike Betts. Maybe they do know. It's redacted. If Michael goes by Mike. I don't know that, by the way, and again, if a random dude that isn't that Michael Betts, for example, is sending Fauci, why the hell are we doing this? In my opinion, this dude doesn't reference, as an immunologist, I blah, blah, blah. Is this the same Mike Betts?
Like he ignored.
If so, if this is the same Mike Betts, why does Mike Betts not use his school email or reference it and say, introduce himself based on his credentials when he's furthering his idea?
Ignored anything that was intelligent, anything that could lay blame to China.
What? And again, by the way, laying blame to China. Meanwhile, what was your dad saying? Oh, yeah. The problem was that Trump spent a lot of time last year doing everything he could to avoid laying blame. China seems to be making tremendous progress. Their numbers are way down. I think our relationship with China is very good. We just did a big trade deal. We're starting to make another trade deal with China, a very big one. And we've been working very closely. They've been talking to our people. We've been talking to their people, having to do with the virus. So, February 29th. That's just February. And I guess in January at the top of that. So this is 15 times. When did this article come out? So this was March 15th. This is about the time of that email that they were getting. All right. I just can't believe the nerve of this do nothing. No, you mean Trump? Yes. But here we go. Let's see. I'm sure he's going to bring it home. I'm sure there's another email besides
this. Didn't destroy America.
It didn't destroy America. We're recovering. There are people that need help, and the rescue package will do a lot. There certainly needs to be a big infrastructure package, but the country's still here. The country still exists.
Like he did the opposite. It turns out what they told us wasn't exactly true. So again, lock down a whole country. Again, allegedly or seemingly. Sorry, guys.
What do you mean allegedly or seemingly? What are you referencing?
Bit over the note.
Honest to God, listen to this. Yes, I have a ponytail right now.
From that researcher. It seems like he ignored anything that was intelligent, anything that could lay blame to China, anything that didn't destroy America. It seems like he did the opposite.
I'm sorry. Oh, and that was an edit. That's why. I was like, why doesn't that make sense? Because there's an edit, and he moved the camera, too.
It seems like he ignored anything that was intelligent, anything that could lay blame to China, anything that didn't destroy America. It seems like he did the opposite. Turns out what they told us
seems like he did the opposite. Edit.
Wasn't exactly true. So again, lock down a whole country.
What part? What part, asshole? Somebody made a suggestion. You're assuming that dude is the same Mike Betts. Again, do we know that that's the actual guy? I hope so. Maybe so. Maybe he's talked to this dude. Maybe he's one of the right-wing guys who was pushing back against lockdowns because he didn't think it was necessary. And now he's got to stick to his guns because if you have to keep pushing the idea that, I think it was actually more damaging to do these because if people recognize just how fucking wrong you were at the time, and we still had 600,000 deaths, where we could have had 3 to 10 million.
Again, allegedly or seemingly.
Yeah, what is somebody telling you? Is somebody yelling cut? Is Andrew Giuliani there shooting these for you?
Sorry, guys. Being able to communicate with you guys is still too important to know and say what we all know likely to be true, right? Fauci said masks.
No, what sentence are you talking about?
Aren't needed unless you're sick. And no.
February 5th. This is, and by the way, what did Trump say February 5th? What did Trump, because he said stuff the same day. Let's see what, I'll just line this up. There you go. Sorry, February 7th. Here you go. This is after. I just spoke with Xi last night. You know, they're working on the problem. It's a very tough situation. They'll handle it. I think he's handling it very well. We're helping wherever we can. This is the whole where they go, masks, don't wear masks, wear masks again. It's the same argument. Masks are really for infected people to prevent them from spreading infection to people who are not infected, rather than protecting uninfected people from acquiring infection. Not necessarily true, by the way, because he believed at that point they didn't know it was aerosolized. They thought it was just droplets. It was later that they found out it hung in the air for an hour. So the amount of stuff that comes out of your mouth constantly contributed to the volume in the air, and the volume of the virus that you were exposed to also correlated to the depth of disease you got. Guys.
Note, SARS/COVID-2 is so small it passes easily between masks. Huh.
And yet, infections went down in areas where there were masks. Let's see. Okay. Masks effective against COVID. Let's see. Where's the file? Where's the newest one? I'm trying to find one that's the most recent. Let's go. Well, there's. Here's Nature. Face masks, what the data say. Science supports that face coverings are saving lives during the coronavirus pandemic, and yet the debate trundles on. How much evidence is enough? When her Danish colleagues first suggested distributing protective cloth face masks to people in Guinea-Bissau to stem the spread of coronavirus, Christine Ben wasn't so sure. I said, yeah, that might be good, but there's limited data on whether face masks are actually effective. This is Ben, a global health researcher in Denmark. That was in March. But by July, Ben and her team had worked out how to possibly provide some needed data on masks. So he's going on the previous data, the same data that made her dubious, and hopefully help people in Guinea-Bissau. They distributed thousands of locally produced cloth face coverings to people as part of a randomized controlled trial that might be the world's largest test of mask effectiveness against the spread of COVID-19. Face masks are a ubiquitous symbol of a pandemic that has sickened 35 million people and killed more than 1 million in hospitals and other healthcare facilities. Use of medical grade masks clearly cuts down transmission from SARS-CoV-2 virus. But for the variety of masks in use by the public, the data was messy. And that's what he meant by the ones you could just buy. By the way, doctors all wear the masks largely to keep droplets of whatever they could possibly be carrying out of you while they're doing surgery, for example, and also to keep them from catching shit from you that you're coughing all over the goddamn place. So add to that a divisive political discourse that included a U.S. president disparaging the use just days before being diagnosed with COVID-19 himself. People looking at the evidence or understanding it differently, said Baruch Fischhoff, a psychologist at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Oh, UPenn, what do you know? Or that'd be UPID, I guess. It's legitimately confusing. To be clear, the science supports using masks, with recent studies suggesting they could save lives in different ways. Research shows that they cut down the chances of both transmitting and catching the coronavirus. And some studies hint that masks might reduce the severity of infection if people do contract the disease. And this goes, here's the Mayo Clinic. Let's see, when was this one? When did this one come out? This is, and they've done more studies about masks and contracting coronaviruses in the last year and a half than at any other time in history. N95 mask is a type of respirator. It offers more protection than a medical mask does because it has filters both large and small, particles. Let's see, make them easier to breathe. Unfortunately, these masks don't filter the air the wearer breathes out. For this reason, they've been banned in some places. That's the ventilated mask. these medical masks work if they're form-fitting. That's the thing. Cloth masks is intended to trap respiratory droplets. The most effective cloth masks are made out of multiple layers of tightly woven fabric like cotton. By the way, this is why wear two masks. Wear the cloth one that you like, that's fashionable and whatever, but underneath it, try to wear, an actual N95 or another medical mask. How to get the most from your mask? Well, obviously not wearing one at all, because as common sense would say, fuck, dude. So dumb. And this is Wednesday, February 5th, 2020. Masks are really for infected people. By the way, so that's exactly what the scientists in Denmark thought until they did the largest control study about the effectiveness of masks against COVID-19 and found that they were not only effective against stopping the spread from people, stopping the spread to people, where people receive it into themselves, but it also lowered the amount of virus you got in your system and enabled your body to fight it off so you would have a less of a disease. But guys, common sense says, read the science before we've done the study.
Shocked. I'm shocked. Who could have predicted this other than everyone who...
No one predicted this. And you, fundamentally, you, sir, are a dumbass. I mean, it's one, and now I'm not just saying that because he's wrong about this and that he's selling this line and that it's complete horseshit, but that it's easy to actually look. It's easy to look at the multitude of studies that have been done in the last year to see if they are indeed effective. If social distancing does help. In the area where people were wearing masks and socially distancing, the case rate went down on a measurable level that was beyond the placebo circumstance.
Who was a conservative and wasn't a blind sheep following the Rachel Maddow tinfoil hat brigade.
There's no tinfoil hat to this. Tinfoil hat would be the one that in Wuhan they made this and they attacked our country, but your dad thought the cure was corn.
Literally everyone.
Literally no one.
A recurring theme in the emails was reporters trying to get Fauci, to say that he was muzzled by Trump. He wasn't. Unfortunately, people thought he was an expert. People thought he actually was more than a bureaucrat. I think that was probably a mistake. We seem to know that now, but we couldn't have known it then. And had we done anything different, we would have been slaughtered by the press, pushing, their medical theories, which are worth nothing, but...
No, Fauci's not the only person talking. He was the point person for a lot of this stuff, but thank you very much. Thanks for the super chat. A lot of you guys we were all at home. This asshole does realize we were all at home watching television last year, right? That we all saw this as it happened, right?
They would have done it anyway.
Somebody said, great point about Penn EDU. Do you remember a Pitt researcher who ended up dead, murdered, and was announced a major finding about COVID at the same time? I don't. Hold on. Penn researcher found murdered COVID. I don't know. We'll see something like that. This dude, Dr. Bing Liu, who was studying cellular mechanisms underlying the SARS-CoV-2, okay. Molecular biologist, University of Pittsburgh, was found dead last week in what police believe was a murder-suicide, according to multiple reports. 37 was fatally shot Saturday at his home, about 35 miles north. A second man, identified as 46-year-old Hao Gu, was found dead in his vehicle from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Action News 4 reporter Ross said the killing appeared to stem from a lengthy dispute regarding an intimate partner. Said there was zero evidence the incident was related to work being done at the University of Pittsburgh or the coronavirus pandemic. Liu was an assistant research professor in the School of Medicine's Department of Computational and System Biology. His work focused on the basic science of the coronavirus. Bing was on the verge of making very significant findings towards understanding the cellular mechanisms that underlie SARS-CoV-2 infection and cellular basis following the complications. Like everybody that was working on it, you mean? Okay. I'm sorry. There was nothing in that would make me think that he was. Oh, that was the thing, right?
This is what's going on, guys. This is what's happening in America. You know, the Washington Post literally edited a 15-month-old headline claiming that COVID lab leak theory was all.
Tom Cotton keeps repeating a coronavirus theory that's been debunked. Tom Cotton keeps repeating a coronavirus fringe theory that scientists have disputed. Which one? The theory that it was made there? The theory that it was sent on purpose? The theory that it leaked?
It was already debunked. Now they changed it.
Well, what was the actual theory? I mean, I'd have to look up what they're saying, but that might be the part there's parts that are in dispute, and then there's parts that are debunked.
Now, 15 months later, it was already debunked. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, yeah, but not maybe so either.
Remember when they went after Tom Cotton for
No.
repeatedly talking about the coronavirus theory, and it was debunked, and they went after anyone who took on what they thought was the gospel, not because of actual science, but because it was a good narrative for them.
What narrative? Again, these are two separate tracks. This is do we treat the wound or do we look for the shooter? These guys are all like, anytime you're like, we need to treat the wound, they're like, we need to look for the shooter. Anytime you're like, we need to find out if the shooter shot on purpose or on accident, and they're like, guns don't kill people, people kill people.
It's what they wanted to say. You know, Trump questioned these
Edit, another edit.
things.
Jesus.
Trump thought the Wuhan lab theory was the most plausible because, of course, it was. But because he did that,
What part of the theory? Whether China did it on release this accidental one or not is a worldwide issue. No one's questioning where it came from. Oh, cool, Adam. I'm a fan. This is one of the few I found that I like.
everyone had to go against it. So, guys, it turns out Fauci was nothing but a bureaucrat politician in a white coat. Okay.
And it turns out that your dad was president when, in theory, based on your argument, China killed 600,000 Americans, and he thought a second phase of the trade deal was in order. Can you imagine if Chamberlain had sold Hitler all of Britain's corn, soybeans, pork, and beef right before they were rationing themselves in World War II?
Okay? This guy, in my opinion, is the least competent person ever. And
Yeah, but your opinion means nothing. So, I mean, you picked that shirt.
all he was good at was getting himself on TV, trying to make himself a big name like he was some sort of great savior. He's not a savior. He destroyed lives. He destroyed families.
You do realize there's 600,000. Well, those people were supposed to die. I forgot. Sorry. Thank you, Sarah.
Destroyed businesses. And honestly, he came pretty close to destroying America, in my opinion.
Is that a special place, America, in my opinion?
He set us back years. He took Trump accomplishments and successes and destroyed that. That's what he was good at. And that's
It was that easy? So let me get this straight. An egomaniacal bureaucrat who just was seeking fame, again, we're going on his argument, was able to destroy the United States of America and the entirety of your father's presidency. So I thought you started this off with bureaucrats can't do anything.
That's about it. Keep watching, folks.
Why?
Don't believe the narrative. Don't believe what's out there. Make sure you educate yourselves. Okay?
Yeah, go read all of the Fauci emails. They're all here. Go look at them. Go find where he's been deified. Let's see. I'm gonna find a. Okay, here's just so you know. So the email he showed, I want to button this piece with this. The email that Junior showed was from this dude that he's alleging is this immunologist from UPenn, right? And that, why didn't you listen to him? And he just said, thank you for your note, right? And in that part, that guy did not write, I'm an immunologist at UPenn, my name's this, and these are my credentials, right? We looked at the email. He did not say that. It's just, my name's, hey, dear Dr. Fauci, here's my opinion, my name, that's it. All right. Here he gets an email with an attachment. Let's see. This is, proposal for new treatment to establish COVID-19 corrected email. So, Professor Shimon Slavin. I apologize for some typos in my previous email sent to you out of spontaneous enthusiasm. Please consider this corrected version instead. Dear Dr. Fauci, you may not remember, but we met years back when I was at Stanford University and training with the late Donald E. Thomas to consider cell therapy of HIV based on the use of reduced intensity, non-myeloablative conditioning in preparation for stem cell transplantation to induce tolerance and then apply cell therapy with donor lymphocytes, which I propose for consideration of treatment of patients with HIV with secondary malignancy. The purpose, that's how you open an email with the head of the NIH and the task force's main scientists when you are presenting an idea, right? Hi, these are my credentials. When I tell you what my opinion is, you should base my opinion and what I'm suggesting on this information, right? Like adult shit. That doesn't mean he's right. I haven't read the rest of this. Doesn't mean his suggestions turn out to be good. As a matter of fact, I love the idea that he apologizes for his typos and goes back and fixes it. The purpose of this email is to try and capture your attention in order to consider a new treatment option for COVID-19 that can be applied for patients in need of evidence of disease with no delay. Whereas many companies focus on development of an anti-corona vaccine, I believe the more rational approach would be to develop treatment for COVID-19, and then if the virus will be deleted and or the disease controlled or modified, vaccination will result with without the need for specific corona-specific vaccination, which is not yet available, and by the time it may be available, it may no longer be relevant. They didn't know about the spread, how much it was going to be. This is in motion. I'm serving as the medical director of a company in Hungary, and we believe that one simple and safe experimental treatment of patients with existing viral disease may already be at hand. This is all redacted. I don't know. I will greatly appreciate if you could give me a call or have one of your colleagues contact me. I'm available 24/7. They more than likely, whoever released these redacted this part of it because they don't want people, eating fish tank cleaner or something. I will provide supportive scientific and clinical literature. I'm available 24/7 on my mobile phone, listed below. There's his information. Dude is in Israel, all this kind of stuff. Okay, what was Fauci's response? Was it thanks for your note? No, it was please respond. Somebody sent NIA response to in VA, there is a woman who says she had the corona back in November and her husband had it in December. If this is fact, how can we trust our government when it comes to public health? Sent from my iPad to Fauci from GC, whoever that is. Never mind the fact that it was present in China and it was starting to get over here and we knew it was already in the country by then. And November was the time when they, that's why it's called COVID-19, not COVID-20. But common sense, guys.